Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first oath-taking ceremony of the Philippine Supreme Court, conducted via video conference and broadcast live on national television. In our video conference today are the 2019 bar passers, 2019 bar examiners, law school deans, and key officials of the Supreme Court. May I remind everyone that this is a special en banc session of the Supreme Court, so please observe proper decorum. Throughout the proceedings, the 2019 bar passers are required to keep their video cameras turned on and their audio muted, unless instructed otherwise. The oath-taking ceremony will be starting in a short while.
All please rise. The Honorable, the Chief Justice of the Philippines and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having business before the Honorable Supreme Court of the Philippines shall give their attention, for the court is now in session.
Please remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem and the Supreme Court hymn, to be led by the Supreme Court Choir. Called for today's special en banc session is Bar Matter number 3489, the first ever online oath-taking ceremony of new lawyers, the 2019 Bar Examinees. The invocation shall be led by the Honorable Justice Jose C. Reyes, Jr.
Today is a very important day for us under a very unique situation. You will be taking your oath under a pandemic. This oath is a solemn promise about your duties and responsibilities as a lawyer. When you take your oath, you will actually invoke a divine being we call God. This occasion reminds me of a day like this, 42 years ago, when I also took my lawyer's oath. While I was at the Supreme Court grounds, I thought with a smile that one day I will be working in the highest court of the land. My first job was in the Supreme Court as technical assistant to then Supreme Court Chief Justice Felix V. Macassiar. Last August 9, 2018, by God's grace, I was back in the Supreme Court as the 179th Associate Justice. Truly, as the saying goes, man proposes, but God disposes. It is not far-fetched that some of you will also become a Supreme Court Justice in the future. So, as we pray, let us thank our Almighty God for the many blessings we have received, and in particular, this blessing of passing the bar examinations. And then, in all humility, let us ask Him to also help you make your dreams come true. He will surely guide and protect you in overcoming the challenges, tests, and trials that will come your way. Please rise for the prayer proper. Almighty God, we praise and thank you for helping us hurdle the 2019 bar examinations, which is the key to practice our legal profession. We thank you for giving us supportive parents, inspiring professors, patient mentors, loving classmates, and true friends who have been our source of strength to pursue our goals. To all of them, we offer our deepest gratitude for this triumphant and memorable event. Thank you for the gift of life and good health, and for the talents and treasures you have bestowed on us to be successful in our chosen profession. Thank you for being with us always, especially during the difficult preparations for the test, and when we had our fears and worries that weakened our self-confidence. Thank you for the regenerative power of hope and faith. Today, we humbly stand before you as our Supreme Judge to ask you once again for your spiritual, intellectual, and material blessings we need to pursue our career as lawyers. Strengthen our resolve to stay faithful to our fourfold duties to society, our nation, to the courts, to our colleagues, and to our clients. Help us bear in mind that a lawyer's oath guards against falsehood, bad faith, greed, and malice, the very things that are inconsistent with your divine will. Teach us to accept that as lawyers, we are but instruments of justice and peace who need your guidance and protection to fulfill our oath. Almighty God, as the pandemic continues to claim lives, we also pray that soon you will bring us to a new normal that is better, with a deepened faith in your love for us. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Justice Reyes. You may now be seated. To officially begin the proceedings, let us hear from the 2019 Bar Chairperson, the Honorable Senior Associate Justice Stella M. Perlas Bernabe, as he gives due recognition to the 16 bar examiners of the 2019 bar examinations and petitions the court for admission of the 2019 successful bar examinees to become members of the Philippine Bar.
May it please the Court, Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta, my esteemed colleagues in the Supreme Court, the 2019 bar examiners, the deans of the different law schools, and my 2019 bar examinations. These 16 examiners were chosen not only for their proven competence and expertise in their respective fields of law, but also for the commonality of their desire to work towards an enhanced quality of justice in our country, as well as the upliftment of our legal profession. Aside from their contributions in crafting the bar exam questions, they had confidentially secured and meticulously checked thousands of notebooks for the past several months. For their tremendous work, dedication, and unwavering support all throughout the conduct of the 2019 bar, I extend to all of them my heartfelt gratitude. As I call out their names, their photos and present or past significant positions will be flashed on the screen, beginning with our examiners for political and international law, Dean Cedfrey Candelaria and Commissioner Rene Sarmiento. For labor law and social legislation, Dean Salvador Poquis and retired Supreme Court Justice Arturo Brion. For civil law, Court of Appeals Associate Justice Priscilla Padilla and Dean Cynthia Del Castillo. For taxation law, Court of Appeals Associate Justice Japar de Maampao and Attorney Lily Gruba. For mercantile law, Court of Tax Appeals Associate Justice Maria Rowena San Pedro and Attorney Francis Ed Lim. For criminal law, Regional Trial Court Judge Selma Alaras and Court of Appeals Associate Justice Apolinario Bruselas Jr. For remedial law, Court of Appeals Associate Justice Maria Filomena C. and Associate Solicitor General Marisa Guillen. And finally, for legal and judicial ethics and practical exercises, Sandigan Bayan Associate Justice Maria Teresa Arcega and NLRC Commissioner Pablo Espiritu Jr. You will see more of the relevant credentials in the souvenir program, which will be distributed during the signing of the roll of attorneys. Again, my profound appreciation to our 16 bar examiners. Before we proceed to the formal petition for admission to the bar, allow me to say a few words to this year's bar passers. Today, you take your oath as lawyers in the midst of unprecedented times. Historically, you will not only be known as the first batch of lawyers to have been sworn in online, but to a greater extent, the first batch to have commenced your legal practice during a debilitating global pandemic. In formally assuming your duties and responsibilities, I challenge you to lead the new generation of lawyers in carrying the great responsibility of utilizing the law to help society cope and move forward. Being the first lawyers ushered in the era of the new normal, you are in a unique position of innovating ways to ensure that justice becomes accessible to all and that our law remains a staunch bulwark of our people's rights and freedoms. Now, more than ever, the legal profession needs your youthful exuberance, your proficiency in new technologies, and most of all, your interconnected sense of community. Harness all these qualities for the advancement of our profession with a brimming optimism that these too shall pass. Congratulations for a job well done. Never forget the oath that you will be taking today, and may you pave a path of uncompromising excellence and integrity as you go along pursuing your careers and building a bright future for all of us. On that note, I, as the chairperson of the 2019 bar examinations, hereby petition the Honorable Supreme Court for the admission of the successful bar candidates into the legal profession. Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta and my esteemed colleagues in the Supreme Court, pursuant to Sections 17, 18, and 19 of Rule 138 of the Rules of Court and the applicable resolutions of the Supreme Court, I pray that these successful bar candidates whose names are in the list certified by the Office of the Bar Confident and who are now before us be admitted as members of the Philippine Bar with the distinction, responsibilities, and privileges appurtenant thereto. I further pray that their oath as lawyers be accordingly administered and their names be entered in the roll of attorneys of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Thank you, Your Honors, and to everyone.
There being no objections, the court hereby grants the petition for admission to the bar of the successful 2019 bar candidates. Attorney Arisheta, the clerk of court, may now administer the lawyer's oath.
Thank you, Your Honor. But before I administer the oath, allow me to recognize the top 10 bar passers and their respective schools. Number 1, May Dayan M. Azores, from the University of Santo Tomas, Legazpi. Second, Princess Fatima T. Parahiman from the University of the East. Third, Myra M. Baranda from the University of Santo Tomas, Legazpi. Fourth, Dauna Fay O. Bandiola from the San Beda College, Alabang. Fifth, Jocelyn B. Fabilio from the Palawan State University. Sixth, Kenneth Glenn L. Manuel from the University of Santo Tomas. Seventh, Roy D. Buergo from Jose Rizal University. Eighth, Anton Luis A. Avila from St. Louis University. Ninth, June Dexter H. Rojas from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And 10th, Babylan A. Madera from the University of St. LaSalle. My congratulations to you and your respective schools. At this point, may I request all the bar passers to kindly unmute your respective microphones and raise your right hand as I administer your lawyer's oath. Repeat after me. I state your name. Of do solemnly swear that I will maintain allegiance to the Republic of the Philippines. I will support and defend its Constitution and obey the laws as well as legal orders of the duly constituted authorities therein. I will do no falsehood nor consent to its commission. I will not wittingly or willingly promote or sue any groundless, false, or unlawful suit, nor give aid nor consent to the same. I will not delay any man's cause for money or malice, and will conduct myself as a lawyer according to the best of my knowledge and discretion, for all good fidelity, as well to the courts as to my clients. And I impose upon myself this obligation voluntarily, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help you God. Again, congratulations, everyone. We now listen to the Honorable Justice Mario Victor F. Leonen as he gives his address to the new lawyers.
The Honorable Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Republic of the Philippines, my manong, Honorable Diosdado Peralta, the Honorable Senior Associate Justice, this year's exemplary and indefatigable bar chairperson, a good friend to everyone, and my mentor, Honorable Estela Perlas Bernabe, my distinguished and inspiring colleagues, the Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, deans and faculty of the various law schools, the President of the Philippine Association of Law Schools, Dean Mari Ananias, and our officers, the Dean of my law school, the UP College of Law, Dean Deng Cordero Tan, parents, friends, and lovers of those who took the 2019 bar examinations. Successful candidates of the 2019 bar examinations, eminent future colleagues in the profession, fellow seekers of justice and meaningful freedoms, may it please the Honorable Court. Congratulations, you made it. You hurdled the most difficult civil service examination in the Republic. Years of toil and sacrifice have borne fruit. You deserve the privilege to enter your names into the sacred rolls of attorneys. The privilege of your title comes with a lot of responsibility. Keep in mind that this title will not fully define or constitute who you are. You are more than your degrees and your professional titles. They are your masks. Behind these masks and titles should still be authentic human beings. The presence and support of others made your achievements possible. Your parents and close relatives have nurtured, clothed, and fed you. Your many professors have patiently, hopefully humanely, trained you. Many others have been there for you. They are easy to overlook. The food servers you have bothered while you reviewed. The men and women that cleaned up after you, to name a few. They too deserve recognition and your appreciation. Treat them all well. As an exercise of humility, soon after these ceremonies and as one of your priorities, please go back to them. Say thank you. Without a shadow of any doubt, Senior Associate Justice Estela Perlas Bernabe also deserves our recognition and our appreciation. Many deans have told me what we in the court have always known. She has exhibited exemplary leadership, compassionately listening to all our concerns, creatively addressing various problems as they came up, including how we conduct this oath-taking. She continuously mentored her staff and the personnel of the Office of the Bar Confidant, giving space for the next bar chairs and their staff to witness the preparations, the implementation, and post-activities for the bar examination. With leave of my colleagues, I dare say that we are unanimous in saying that the 2019 bar examinations have been well executed. The results show it. Congratulations, Justice Telly, for a job superbly done. Congratulations also to Rick and your family, who were always there for you, and your efficient staff who executed your guidance with enviable precision. Justice Telly, it will be difficult to follow your exemplary performance, but I believe that every meaningful challenge is always difficult. The next bar examinations will meet the standards of the court and bank, even as it builds on the spirit of reform that has continued to inspire the present Peralta Court. First, we will attempt to remove more inequities that are inherent in the modality of the bar examinations. Already, with unanimous support, the court and bank has approved a regional site in Cebu City for the bar examinations. I have also been given the go signal to drive a project that will examine the various digital platforms for a pilot test in computerizing the bar, including how applicants answer the exam questions. This will be a relief to those who come after you with handwriting as bad as many of the justices of this court. Second, I hope to trigger a conversation as to the real nature of the bar and make its practices more reasonable. The bar is merely a qualifying examination, not a determinant of how good you will be as a lawyer. Certainly, it does not measure your worth as a person. It is the intention of the current bar chair to take a hard look at the various rituals that add unnecessary pressure on the applicants, including the utility of midnight and last-minute tips from well-meaning supporters, and the way we evaluate the answers to the examinations and present the results. Soon enough, we will make the proper proposals for the consideration of the court and bank. Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta has ensured that I can work with the next bar chairpersons in order to have a strategic view of the reforms that will happen. Already, Justices Alfredo Benjamin S. Caguiwa, Justice Alexander G. Hesmundo, and Justice Ramon Paul L. Hernando have been so generous in their advice. Every generation is defined by its responses to the challenges and crises that confront them. Yours is no exception. Obviously, this digital oath-taking pro hac vice takes place against the backdrop of a potential existential threat to humanity. Its format is motivated by the Peralta Court's desire not to put more people at risk by refusing to facilitate the spread of SARS-CoV-2. In truth, this pandemic poses a greater challenge than prevention measures or the global effort to find cures and discover the vaccine, or governments finding ways to strengthen their health infrastructure. Reports say that this pandemic will cause one of the most malignant recessions in our history. Close to 1 billion human beings will become poorer. Many will lose their jobs. Seeing one's children go hungry can lead to many acts of desperation. Law will take part in the narrative of providing succor as well as remedies when needed. COVID-19 is not the only existential threat we now face. There are more. Climate change and its dangers are imminent, if not already present. Given current lifestyles, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change predicts that we will breach the marker of increase in average world temperatures of 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels by 2040. That is only 20 years away. With current lifestyles, as you approach the peak of your careers, you will experience a myriad of globally catastrophic events, regular heat waves, higher sea level rises, displacement and involuntary migration of many communities, unpredictable weather patterns, coral reefs bleaching and dying off to almost extinct, lower fish catches, droughts, and the corresponding decline in food production, and many more. Studies are now hinting that changes in world temperatures and unbridled human activity may make pathogens like viruses and bacteria more common and more virulent. COVID-19 will certainly not be the last pandemic. Humanity's task to slow down climate change is daunting. To just slow down the pace of change, the entire world has to reduce its fuel emissions to at least half of what it is now by 2030. 2030 is just 10 years from now. The entire world has to massively shift from fossil-based sources of energy to renewables. We have to radically reduce our meat consumption. With our current dietary trajectory and a population of 10 billion by 2050, agricultural livestock will contribute almost 25% of all greenhouse gases. Again, law will be conceptualized, crafted, promulgated, and invoked to achieve all of this. Lawyers will be needed. The very concept of democracy as an existential threat is also now under strain. The promise of egalitarian democratic forums through digital and wired technology has taken a wrong turn. Today, the Big Nine, Google, Amazon, Apple, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent control most of technology. Commercial motives have unleashed the nebulous algorithms of advertising, digital addiction, and epistemic bubbles. We willingly surrender our privacy and give greater control over our information to the Big Nine, the malevolent forces of the dark web, and those whose expertise is to undermine sovereign exercises such as elections and democratic referendums. All this is happening while our attention is diverted, while we spend time on food photography and the dopamine rush of social media. Even our political and social consciousness is falsely assuaged and therefore effectively limited because we can voice our rants on Facebook or Twitter. We believe that that is not enough. Today, we are seduced by a virtual world that pretends to maintain friendships and relationships. The convenience of cyberspace diverts us from authentic human relationships, which are developed through face-to-face conversations that are rather inconvenient, requiring patience, filled with tentative emotions, sometimes painful, but always inviting understanding. The digital world creates digital amnesia. It diverts political responsibility, creates epistemic bubbles, and breeds intolerance. The sheer breadth of information and our ability to save unexamined information in our hard disk or in cloud space replace critical analysis, deep thought, and the patient but persistent evolution of our own personal philosophies. With the buffet of information available to us, we have conveniently forgotten a timely reminder from a writer, Susan Sontag, that definitely information is not illumination. Artificial intelligence and its deeper variations, such as machine learning, are now ubiquitous and deployed in whole societies. Surveillance comes with convenience. For example, it is found in many of your smartphones through your geolocators, persistent and non-persistent cookies, digital fingerprinting, your unthinking approval of the terms of service or end-use license agreement. Not only does artificial intelligence contain the possibility of replacing human labor, it will challenge how human intelligence will be deployed. It will redefine the role of humanity. Institutions which dispense judgment or wisdom, like courts, will soon have to adjust. Your generation is also seeing the redefinition of democracy as it witnesses the struggles of various marginalized identities against the norms coercively imposed upon them. These are the indigenous communities, religious minorities, including those who believe that an ethical life can happen without a belief in a God or an institutional religion. Those whose gender identity and expression of sexual orientation do not conform to the dominant view. Their various struggles in language, in culture, and in law will test our post-colonial and often patriarchal present. We live in a society where there is poverty, extreme inequality, and social injustice rendered invisible by an ethic of excess, a desiderata of comfort, and the false allure of wealth in monetary terms. Money is what begets more money through speculative investments and passive income. In the meantime, labor can only fetch a fixed wage that often does not even catch up with inflation. Rather than valorize labor as a human effort, labor in many legal systems is perceived merely as a factor of production. It is falsely viewed as undeserving of partnership or ownership in an enterprise. Security of tenure is feared as an obstacle that increases costs of production, pushing our people to leave our country and go where they can seek resources to give a dignified life to their families. In the meantime, ownership of successful enterprises are given to passive owners who have the financial capital. We are a society where many of our best workers are scattered in more than 100 other countries. We are a country in the midst of a massive diaspora with all its gendered and cultural repercussions. It is this generation where we witness a wave of conservative populism that is gaining ground worldwide. You see the challenges to the institutions that gather and speak truth to power. Journalists worldwide suffer simply because they seek to verify and validate the truth. Those who speak truth to power, even in ordinary social media platforms, experience what it means to be shamed and cyberbullied. Trolling is also a sad Filipino phenomenon, and it is slowly becoming systemic and organized. Our trolls are not confined to any political color. Untruths and fake accounts now present the prospect of undermining the promise of an authentically deliberative democracy. It challenges how our people will be represented. Remember that the quality of our democracy determines the quality and relevance of our laws. We can ignore all of this. It is tempting to simply exist in the protected comfort of our lives, succumb to the status quo, just get rich, do our thing, and allow our existence to be full of material possessions, but meaningless. But we have a choice. We have the option to discover our courage, live with the discomfort, critically examine our society, and use our profession for a greater purpose, that humanity not only survives, but thrives with social justice. It is true that law, as part of culture, and as it is now, constitutes us. But we can redefine it. The legal profession can choose to help craft, interpret, and apply the law so that it provides solutions. Lawyers can either refuse and view events narrowly and allow the law to further our collective human perdition, or we can collectively use law to liberate. The rule of law is always the rule of just law. It is no code for servility. Your oath to the rule of law is not an oath of surrender to the unjust and oppressive elements of the status quo. It is not licensed to further marginalize those who are disadvantaged, those who are poor, those who are abused by power and untruths. Your oath serves as your power to bring about change that is hopefully just, hopefully systemic. Your oath is a promise to empower. That is what is meant by the nobility of our profession. You do not need to look far for these ideals. Your Constitution mentions human dignity and human rights. It emphasizes the intrinsic worth of every human life. It constitutes our people, all our people, and not only the rich and those in power, as sovereign, capable of demanding accountability, disclosure, information, and space for freedom of expression that does not stifle but shapes all opinion. It acknowledges that property is a human construction, that it has a social function, and that rights to create ownership as well as wealth should not override our very humanity. Remember that being a lawyer is not primarily about you. Your profession is designed to make the problems of others your problem. A lawyer cannot exist without a client or a cause. Every case, whether banal or politically controversial, will interrogate your ability to discover the ideals of justice, equality, and meaningful freedoms. Let me be clear about this. Your task is not to hope or seek a better world. It is more than that. Your purpose as a lawyer is to use your lives to shape law so that it authentically contributes to the achievement of the best society for every human being. It will not be easy. Even with the ATTY in your names, it will not be easy. Even when people start to call you justice, it will not be easy. The process of building meaningful careers is accompanied with painful experience and soul-searching. Making the right decisions during times of crisis is a challenge. Often you will choose whether you will put your career on the line. It takes a huge amount of courage and the same amount of conviction to do what may seem unpopular, dangerous, inconvenient, but right. In the course of their careers, many a lawyer or judge or justice or public officer lose appreciation for the social value of their profession. Somewhere along the way, convenience takes the form of pragmatic silence. They surrender the choice to make the difficult moral and ethical decision, all to placate the status quo. They mistake the public interest with debt of gratitude to the elite and the powerful that continue to provide their wealth and create their careers. Expediency overwhelms conscience. I repeat what I have said many times. Our silence, when we fall victim or after we serve as accomplices to corrupt acts of the powerful, is also our own powerful political act. Our silence maintains the status quo. It ensures that others will also be victimized. Our silence in the face of abuse skews power to the system in favor of those with resources and against those who need the law more. Our silence legitimizes greed and undermines the power of public trust. Silence about corruption and abuse of power is not only in itself unjust. Our silence, when we have the ability to speak, is in itself a cause of injustice. Of what use is the palatial home, the latest car, the designer coffee, the swanky fashion bags and clothes, when all these have been purchased on the backs of others suffering? Of what use is our convenience when our people live in squalor? Of what use are the accolades and the brocades when we do nothing while the farmers or fishers' family become hungry? Doing the right thing is necessary because of the poverty, oppression, and helplessness of many in our society. There are families that live in squalor. There are children who cannot eat 3 square meals a day. There are those who live through oppression. There are children raped by their fathers and uncles or put in danger by the very schools that would provide them with safe spaces. There are those robbed of their youth by dangerous drugs. There are those whose identities make them invisible. When you find your situation too difficult as you follow the noble path, remember these words, which I also keep repeating, which I first heard from Leon Alejandro, a good friend and activist in the 1980s. It has become one of my favorite lines nowadays. The line of fire is always a place of honor. The line of fire is always a place of honor. Protect those who have less in life. Do not stand for abuse. Be accepting of different identities. Speak up against corruption. Do not succumb to having more than enough. Do not trade kindness for the false badges of success. When you enter public office, discharge it for the public trust that it is. Do not temper principle with pragmatism. Do not hide behind comfortable acquiescence. Do not choose comfort in lieu of integrity at critical times. Do not disguise your complicity. Instead, be at the front lines. As a lawyer, resist injustice. Make it your passion to resist injustice. Strive for excellence, not only in order to get you more titles, not to land yourself in top 10 lists of lawyers. Strive for excellence because you need excellence with honor to enable and empower the weak, the poor, the marginalized, and the oppressed. Remain humble. Listen and learn. There is wisdom in the difficulties of our people. These are your responsibilities. There is a lot to be done out there. Finally, if there is anything, remember this. Be better than us. Walang magpapalaya sa atin kung hindi tayo mismo. Humayo ng buong giting at tapang. Paglingkuran ang sambayanan. Agyamanak, syukran, maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mr. Justice Leonel. Our congratulations to the successful 2019 bar candidates for completing their oath requirement. Please rise for the Philippine Judiciary Hymn to be led by the Supreme Court Choir. Your Honors. There are no other matters to be taken up for today's session.
There being no other matters, the court hereby enjoy or terminates its en banc session today.
All rise. Please remain standing while the Chief Justice and the Associate Justices leave the session hall.
That's all, folks.
Thank you.
That concludes our proceedings for today. Thank you for joining the 2019 Bar Passers in the Philippine Supreme Court's first oath-taking ceremony via online video conference and shown live on national television. Stay safe, everyone, and God bless us all.